Hi, I'm Peter Capaldi. I play the Doctor, and you're watching EMS Productions.
Hello everybody, happy Christmas, almost. It's Christmas Eve tonight. We're less than 24 hours away from Twice Upon a Time, Peter Capaldi's final adventure. But what is in store for us? Let's have a quick think. So yes, coming up tomorrow at 5:30 PM on BBC One, at least in the UK, or wherever else you are, or if you've seen it already. It's coming very, very soon. And sadly, we are going to have to say goodbye to Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. I am really excited with this episode, but I'm also really sad about this episode because I do not want to see Peter Capaldi go as the Doctor. It's going to be emotional, it's going to be painful because he's just been, really has been my Doctor and one of my favourite Doctors ever. He's been so amazing in the role. So as much as I'm looking forward to Jodie, I'm really excited to see what she brings to the role. It's gonna be a painful one, I think. But in terms of the episode itself, it's certainly got all the ingredients to be a really strong episode, given we've got the first Doctor coming back, we've got Bill coming back, we've got the two Doctors on the verge of regeneration, and it is a regeneration story. It really does have those elements to produce a great story. But it's interesting reading some of the sort of previews of the episode from people who have already seen it. It hints at it being a more understated episode. It's not the big bombastic epic finale that we sometimes get for regeneration stories. Look at, to some degree, Time of the Doctor, certainly the End of Time. I mean, personally, I don't think the End of Time will ever be usurped in the amount of epicness they've attempted to go for in a sort of major Doctor Who story or a regeneration story. So it might be sort of a little bit different to maybe what we're expecting. It's going to be a sort of more low-key, a bit comedic between the two Doctors, and then I'm sure a very sad last 15 minutes. But I don't think there's any reason to feel negative about this episode or like it's not going to be good because of that. I think it's just looking at it in a different way. It's going to be this more quieter, sort of uplifting but then emotional episode, because as Stephen sort of talked about quite a lot, is the Doctor Falls, Well Enough in Time the Doctor Falls was essentially the end of the 12th Doctor. That was his big bombastic epic finale where he goes out, he sort of sets out who he is, he is the Doctor, he's sort of just kind. That lovely speech he has with the two Masters is fantastic. And really, that's the end as far as he's concerned, but just he's sort of decided he does not want to regenerate. We don't really know why yet, so that'll be interesting to see exactly why that isn't the Christmas special. But yeah, so this is almost a sort of bonus episode where he's kind of just fighting it off but trying to come to terms with the fact he is going to have to regenerate. And it'll be fascinating to see, well, of course, the relationship, sort of, the chemistry between the two Doctors in this episode. I think it's going to be lots of great comedy lines throughout, when obviously it's always good when two Doctors meet, but to have the original Doctor meet the sort of new current Doctor all these years on, I think is going to have a really interesting relationship between the two of them. And it'll be interesting to see how they sort of play into the 10th planet and into the storyline of the first Doctor's regeneration, because you know it's set during the 10th planet, it's set right at the end of the first Doctor's life. Are we going to see the first Doctor regenerate possibly in this episode? Or at least he sort of almost maybe see the start of an orange glow of his hand and then that'll be the end of it. I don't know, maybe something like that will happen. It'll certainly be very interesting to see. But yes, it's just going to be fascinating to follow that part of the story as well, and also what scenes they choose to recreate, because we know that at least in the sort of early part of the episode there's going to be a few scenes recreated from the 10th planet, which will be, again, fantastic to see, and see how good a job they do at recreating those scenes. It's also going to be interesting to see how Bill plays her part in this episode. It looks like, sort of from the little clip we've seen from last week, that she's in it fairly early on. She's fairly significantly involved in this episode. She's not going to turn up with 10 minutes to go, sort of say hi for 5 minutes and then be gone. I think she's going to turn up in the first 10 minutes and have a significant part of the story, which is going to be good to see. But it'll be interesting to see how they sort of explain her coming back for this episode and how she finally leaves. Does she die, or does she just become this sort of creature that can just, of atoms that can just fly around time and space however she likes again? That's going to be another sort of point to watch for, I think. I mean, other than that, the cast is looking pretty small on this episode. There's not a huge amount of extra characters. You've got Mark Gatiss' character as this sort of World War I soldier called the Captain, who we still don't really know exactly who he is. The fact that they've kept on sort of saying, he's just the Captain, we can't tell you who he really is, implies he's probably someone moderately significant, or as a reference to somebody, maybe he's the Brigadier's grandson, like I think, or no, grandfather even, like some people predicted. Which would be a nice little twist. It doesn't really fuss me either way too much, but it would be quite nice if it happens. And then the other character, we've got Toby Whithouse, another random writer turning up as a German soldier frozen in time, but it doesn't look like he's too involved in the story. There's this glass or ice woman in it as well, and that looks like it's about it. So it's going to be, I think, a very almost typical of a Moffat story, that it sort of has the potential and is sometimes built up to be this epic, big, massive story, and in reality it's just a small character-based story where it really is about the relationship between a few characters. rather than trying to have massive plots, epic storylines and everything. And that's something I enjoy. Of course, there's all the speculation about whether Clara will make one final appearance in Doctor Who in this episode. Personally, as a fan of hers, I really, really hope so. I hope she gets her little 30-second cameo like Amy did in Time of the Doctor. However it may be, I'd love to see it, and spoiler alert, there has been some implications from people who have implied that she is in the special in some form. I haven't read anything more into these spoilers as I just don't really want to be spoiled, but I have seen a couple of tweets that just hint that she might be in this episode. But that's all I'm saying on the matter. There we go, no more spoilers now, you can come back. So hopefully Clara will turn up again, but we just don't really know at this stage. And then it'll probably just be down to Peter's final scenes, him there on his own, giving his final farewell speech and regenerating, which is going to be a really, really sad moment, I sense. Apparently there's a fair few very emotional scenes in this episode, not just the 12th Doctor's regeneration, which is surprising. Will it be some sort of First Doctor regeneration's departure, or Bill's departure, or will it be that shock Clara cameo appearance that will be sort of such an emotional moment in this episode? I wonder. But I really just hope that Peter Capaldi gets a fantastic and wonderful send-off. He gets some really good speeches, his final sort of scene in the TARDIS. I hope that's done to perfection. I know that Peter and Stephen have put a lot of work into this. Listening to the Radio 2 special a couple of days ago, he said that that Peter asked Stephen to rewrite a scene of the episode right towards the end of it, and Stephen did it overnight because Peter wasn't so happy with it. He just rewrote a whole scene in the TARDIS, I think it is, towards the end of the episode. So that really shows the dedication that both of them have to getting this special right and really giving Peter the send-off he deserves and Stephen the send-off he deserves for it as well as the writer of the show. So I really am confident this episode is going to be great. The reviews have been very good. Let's just hope it really does come off. And of course the one other, well, pretty significant, interesting thing is Jodie Whittaker will be in this episode. She's going to appear probably right at the end. The fascinating thing I've sort of picked up on from people who've done the previews and all that kind of thing is that no one has seen this scene. Every single preview copy of this episode, every screening of this episode is always cut off right as Peter's regenerating, right in during the moment, just as I think Jodie's eyes appear and then that's it, bang, they cut it off. And so no one pretty much other than the Doctor Who, very small few in the Doctor Who production team, have actually seen that scene. Is there something more significant about it, or is it just a sign, I wonder, that Chris Chibnall is going to be much more hotter on avoiding spoilers, avoiding leaks of his episodes and everything like that, which is, I personally hope so. I hope that's the reason that he just wants to keep it as secretive as possible before it comes out and we get to see it, because that has been such a big problem in Doctor Who recently. It'd be great to have that resolved now with Chris really sort of maybe just not giving up preview copies for some of the more significant episodes, and maybe the Series 11 finale, just don't let anybody see it. Just don't give it to anybody before it airs, and then we really will be shocked and excited when we see a brilliant episode, I'm sure. So yes, I think that's just about all we can say about this episode so far, simply because I don't know really anything more about this episode. I hope it has a fantastic soundtrack to it as well. Looks likely it's going to be Murray Gold's last episode. We don't really know anything for sure, but certainly it's been strongly implied that it will be his last episode. So hopefully he goes out with a bang, although some of the previews have hinted that there's a lot of sort of new variations and old tracks rather than original tracks. And the one thing I would quite like to see would be an original track for Peter's regeneration, or at least bringing in a bit of A Good Man, but having something new rather than in Time of the Doctor where it is purely reused music. Go back to a Valet Decem style episode from at the end of the time, 10th Doctor Generation, and have that brilliant piece of new original music is something that I'd really like to see, but it's not the most important thing in the world. But that's it, guys. I know some of you, potentially some of you watching this video, may have seen Twice Upon a Time already. I know there's been a lot of screenings and something like 35,000 people have seen. Maybe that's a bit too high, but certainly a fair few people have seen this episode already. So if you have, I would urge you not to post any spoilers about this episode in the comments until it's aired, because people, at this stage, people who want the spoilers will have already found them, and people who don't want the spoilers will not want to see them 24 hours before the episode happens. So if you have seen it, please don't put any spoilers in the comments. Thank you very much. But there we go, guys. What do you think is going to happen in Twice Upon a Time? What elements are you most excited for? Are you really going to be really sad about Peter leaving? Do you want Clara to appear? What do you think Jodie's first scene is going to be like? Just let me know, guys, what you think about this episode and what you're excited about. I'd love to hear it. But other than that, remember to like this video, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll hopefully see you again very, very soon for another video. Goodbye.